What's up guys, my name is Lauren and welcome back to my channel. It has been so freaking long since I've done like an official sit down video talking to you guys about anything. So today I could not be more excited to be back here talking to you guys about completing our third year on our debt-free journey and everything we've learned along the way. So like I said, 3 years in the books. We started paying off debt in January of 2020 and we have paid down debt every single month until now, December 2022. And it's just wild to me how quickly that time has gone and how normal it is now to be paying off debt. I remember the first year and even into the second year, it just was such a struggle and a push to make those debt payments. It just didn't feel natural. And I had to really push myself to get into the habit of paying off debt. But for year 3, it's just become like a way of life. It's just normal. It feels easy. Well, it's not easy, I won't say that, but like it feels easy to make those debt payments. I feel like before, when I first started paying off debt, actually pushing that pay button, that like make payment button and seeing hundreds and thousands of dollars go towards our debts was like physically painful. And now it's more like normal, like neutral feeling, or even feels like good because I know we're getting closer and closer on a journey that we're going to succeed on. The beginning is a lot more sketchy feeling and now it just feels more like a certainty. It's just a matter of when, not if. But because it's not the beginning of the debt-free journey, it's not really as like exciting or special anymore. It's just gotten more boring. So to stay motivated, like you can't run just on the adrenaline of that first and even second year. You really have to push to keep yourself consistent and stay in the debt payoff mode. Because to be honest, I did find myself this year doubting, like, do we keep pushing on with this or do we just pay the minimum and like move on with life and focus on other things and not stress myself out with these extra debt payments anymore? Because it gets fatiguing after 3 years of this. And I've gone back and forth throughout the year and I'm in a really good place right now with our plan and everything that we're doing. I'm really excited about it. I'm going to talk about that in another video, like what does the future of our debt-free journey look like. But for today, I just want to talk about like everything we've learned these last 3 years. So yeah, you're not running on the adrenaline you had the first few years. And like at this point, we have about $75,000 of debt, which I feel like is kind of a more normal amount of debt. Like, I don't know if anybody's comfortable writing in the comments if you have debt. How much debt do you have? How much debt you're trying to pay off? Because I feel like 75,000, like 50 to 100,000 is like kind of a normal amount of debt that people might be trying to pay off in a debt-free journey. Could be more, could be less, but like we had over 200,000. And so now that we've been at it for 3 years, we're down to 75, which is amazing. But like we're still at an amount where some people may be starting at day one and we've still got more to go 3 years in. So if that makes sense, like it feels like, okay, we're in more of the normal range of debt, but we still have a bunch of pushing to go to actually get to debt freedom still. So the other thing I've learned is not every single year of your debt-free journey is going to look exactly the same. And I know like the Dave Ramsey camp, it's like increase your income, you know, year over year and get everything paid off really quickly. And that's great if you can do that. But for me, I was in a career that I was so miserable in when I started my debt-free journey, our debt-free journey, my husband and I. And my daughter was like 6 months old or so when we started our debt-free journey. And I really wanted to get out of that career. And so I was a lawyer at a law firm, like a medium-sized law firm. And I was making decent money because I was like 5 years into practice at that point. So, you know, like to give up that salary, because if you're not familiar with my channel, like I left my job a year and a half ago, and to give up that salary during our debt-free journey was obviously like the worst thing I could have done to make our debt-free progress like go faster. You know, to give up a 6-figure salary during a debt-free journey, like mathematically is not the thing to do. But during your debt-free journey, like the math of it isn't the only factor. Like I wanted to be able to show up as a good mother for my young child and take care of myself and be healthy enough to have another baby and grow our family, which we were able to do this year. And like my marriage to succeed. And I was so miserable in my job, it was affecting our marriage and had been for years. And so there's other factors that are important to take into account when you're paying off debt, especially if it's a longer debt-free journey like ours. Like you can push and hustle for 2 years, I think, but that's kind of like the max you can really push for until you get to be more like, okay, now we need to regroup and think like long term, if this is going to be a 3, 4, 5 year, 6 year process. Like you can't just push through and hustle through that whole thing. You need to have more of a long-term mindset and think about like what is best for my family. And I didn't want to miss my daughter's whole like young childhood just with my head down at my desk at the law firm at a job that like I didn't want to be at just to pay off debt like a few years sooner. I just didn't think that like if she had a say in it, what would she want? Would she want mommy to be around when she's little and really needs her and be like not just physically present but mentally and emotionally present? Or would she rather a number in a bank account be a little bit higher or a number on a debt website be a little bit lower sooner? And I just felt really strongly that like if she had a say in it, she would say like, no, I don't care about your debt-free journey taking a little bit longer. I want you to be the best mom for me because that's what I need. So that's kind of like the perspective I had to take as I went into like deciding to leave my career and actually doing it. Because if you just look at the numbers and be like, wow, I'm going to give up this much money, which obviously I had a plan to do YouTube part-time from home and grow that income, which I'm doing, and it's been slower than expected, but it is growing, and I think it will grow into something really wonderful at some point down the road. But it takes a lot of years. Like YouTube isn't just something that you do a few videos and all of a sudden you're making 6 figures or more. Like you have to really put in a number of years of work up front to start like reaping the benefits of that. So I'm, well into it. I'm several years in and I do feel great about where I'm at, but it's not grown to a place where I'm replacing my full-time income as an attorney. So to circle back to the point I mentioned a few minutes ago, not every year looks the same. So year 1 of our debt-free journey, we threw a ton of money towards debt. Like, actually, let me take a look and see how much we actually sent, because the numbers are pretty staggering. So the first year we sent $80,000 to debt and we paid off over $62,000. And year 2, we sent $68,000 to debt and we paid off just about $59,000. And then this year we sent $21,000 to debt and paid off about $16,000. So significantly less in year 3 than we did in years 1 or 2. I think the work we did in the first 2 years really gave us like a foundation to become debt free, even though I left my career, because we pushed so hard those first 2 years. And I basically put like my entire paycheck for a couple years to debt payoff, and we just lived off of my husband's paycheck. And that allowed us to make as much progress as we did. So now 3 years in, I don't think I mentioned this yet, but we've paid off over $138,000 of debt. So while we still have like $76,000 to go, we have paid off $138,000. And so we've made like a significant dent in that amount. And I should mention too, like I adjusted these numbers because something else crazy happened this year, and we came into some money that was like a financial windfall, and I talked about it in a video that like I don't want to go into all the details of it because it's just not something I'm not going to share, but it was enough to pay off the balance of my student loans. So I've adjusted my numbers along the way because I felt like counting that money, which was just under $180,000, like as part of our debt-free journey wouldn't be right, because it's not money that like we hustled to make. It was a financial windfall. And so as I'm talking about these numbers, I'm talking about like adjusted numbers because I made the decision to just, not count that as part of our debt-free journey because I just don't think it makes sense to. So anyway, if you were with me from the beginning and these numbers aren't like quite lining up, if you haven't watched in a while, that's why there was that change. And that was another thing that happened. Like we didn't pay off debt as fast, but if you count that amount, then we did pay off over $200,000 this year. So anyway, just thought that was like worth mentioning because that was a huge blessing that came into our lives this year. And yeah, I just like, I don't want to not count it, but like when I'm talking about like the emotional impact of like having to push through a debt-free journey, like that's just kind of a separate category because that's just not something that's going to happen for everyone or apply to most people. So kind of going back to just how this year has been slower income-wise for us, so we've been able to put less to debt payoff than we have in previous years from our income, and just being consistent has really been important this year because the excitement's gone. We're more fatigued from doing this for 3 years. Our income's down. Inflation's crazy. Like this has just been a tough year financially, I think, for all of us. And we brought another person into our family. Like I had a baby this year, and so our expenses are up. And so when you put all that together, like just giving yourself grace and being kind to yourself if one year isn't as good of a year or fast with debt payoff progress as other years, like that's okay, and don't let that ruin your consistency. So we did still make our debt payments every single month for our minimums. There were a couple months where we only paid the minimum, but most months we did pay at least $20 extra, and in some cases like up to I think like $1,000 extra. I'd have to look exactly and see what was the most we put extra in one month. But just the consistency of having your debt go down every single month, no matter what, whether that's paying the minimum or extra, it's really important to just be consistent, not take on new debt, and just not lose sight of the end goal. One thing that we've continued to do is reward ourselves for milestones. So at this point we have one debt left, and it's my husband's student loan, and it's just one big student loan. So to celebrate our progress, we've had to like kind of artificially pick milestones, and you guys have been helpful in that as I've talked to you guys like what should we celebrate next. And I think I actually asked you guys that in a recent video that I posted, like what is the next milestone that we should celebrate. So like for us, a lot of times we'll celebrate when we hit a certain percent of debt paid off or a certain number, like we celebrated when we hit $100,000 of debt paid off. And celebrating milestones is really important to like mark your progress, sit back, acknowledge all the hard work you've just done, and reward yourself in a way. And it doesn't have to be something big. Like when we hit $100,000 of debt paid off, my husband and I each got new iPhones. But when we hit the next milestone, I forget at this point what I was celebrating at that point. I just bought a thing of like mini powdered donuts and just had a donut. And like it was a $3 celebration versus like a $1,500 celebration. But it's just the acknowledgement of the milestone, because it's very easy with debt payoff. I've fallen into this trap multiple times myself, so don't feel bad if you do this. But like I'll hit a milestone and then immediately my brain will go to the next thing and be like, that's not enough. That's not worth celebrating. You still have so far to go. Like, and not give myself the acknowledgement that I deserve on everything I've accomplished. And so celebrating the milestones is a really important piece of making sure you are actually like celebrating everything you're doing along the way. Because the thing with debt payoff, and this has just been such an interesting thing to experience in real time, like on camera with you guys, is that you are building a new routine, a new habit, a new way of living that is going to impact how you handle money for the rest of your life in the best way possible. It's going to set you up for success in a way that like you didn't even realize when you got into it. I didn't realize when I got into it how much this was going to change how I treated money, viewed money, handled money, everything having to do with finances. And so if you fail to recognize the consistency and the progress you're making towards not just debt freedom, but also this monumental, fundamental shift in how you deal with money and treat money, then you're missing the whole point. Like it's such an important thing that you're doing along the way, and it's just so worth celebrating. So celebrating milestones, year 1, year 2 is so important, but especially year 3 and beyond, like that level of dedication should be recognized, and you should give yourself a pat on the back and celebrate something big or small to acknowledge that. I've also learned that along the way, it's okay to like have different strategies or reassess your goals. You know, the first year we didn't contribute anything to retirement while we were paying off debt. The second year we put 15% to retirement and the rest to debt. And this year we kind of split it. We put, some to retirement, but not quite 15%. And the other half we put towards debt. And it's not exactly even, but it's pretty close. And like, it's okay to switch up how you're doing it depending on how you feel that year. My husband and I are 35 and we're going to be 36. So for us, we just felt like after the first year was down and we had that dedication, that commitment to debt payoff, we wanted to then allocate a portion of our income to retirement because we are in our mid going towards late 30s. So depending on your age, your family, how much you save for retirement or not save for retirement, like you may have your own feelings about that. And it's okay if it changes year to year. And what we're gonna do next year is probably different than what we've done any of the 3 previous years. So just each year, like it's okay to sit and reassess and be like, what's gonna make me happiest this year? Or even for the next 6 months, what's gonna make me happiest? And just keep looking at it and make sure that you're putting your money in the place that makes you sleep the best at night. So the last thing I would say that we've learned on our debt-free journey is it becomes much easier to believe that you're gonna become debt-free one day. Like at the beginning, like I said, it feels very sketchy. It feels uncertain. It feels like I'm like, can't even trust myself because I've racked up all this debt. So how can I trust myself that I'm actually going to pay it off? But once you get further and further in, and every year I felt this more and more, it's just, again, it's not a matter of if we're going to become debt free, it's a matter of when we're going to become debt free. And like, it's such a calming and like comforting feeling to know that yes, we are going to be debt free. Like it almost feels like we're kind of there now. Like it doesn't because we have a long ways to go, but it just, I can see what it's going to be like. I can feel what it's going to be like. And I have a sense of control about my spending habits that I didn't have before that make me confident that we're not going to fall back into a bad financial situation, you know, over the long term. Yeah, there may be like hard times if there's like a job loss or a big expense that comes up or somebody gets sick or there's, you know, things, life happens. And like, I'm not saying that I'm confident we won't have hard seasons or hard years or whatever, but I know that based on all the work we've put in, like we will never go back to living the way we did before. And I have no desire to do that. I have no desire to put stuff on a credit card. I have no desire to impulse shop. I have no desire to go over budget. Like it doesn't give me the same dopamine hit that it used to. Like I get dopamine hits off of staying on budget versus going over budget. And that feeling of like just control over your life feels so good, and control over your behavior and just confidence that you can trust yourself. So as time goes on, it just gets so much easier to believe that like debt freedom is going to happen for you. And I think like at the beginning, so I'll say one more thing and then I'll close it out because I don't want to like make this too long. But in the beginning, I had this really, really strong desire to like get this over as quickly as possible because it was so painful. And now it's like I want it done, and depending on the day of the week or the mood I'm in, I may be like, I'm so sick of this and I want it done like absolutely as soon as possible. But most days I just feel like I just want to keep moving forward, and I don't really care how many years it takes. I'm excited to get it done and I want it to be here, but overall I'm not like, I can't stand to do this much longer. I'm at my wit's end. I just feel like I'm continuing on the path, and as long as we keep moving forward towards the end goal, we'll get there. And as long as we keep pushing and making it a priority, we'll get there. But not having to worry so much about the timeline, because it just feels like, a sustainable way of life versus like something that's out of control and you don't know if it's going to work and you just need to get it done as soon as possible because it's just so miserable along the way. Like I don't feel miserable paying off debt anymore. So I guess that's a good place to end it. I hope you guys are doing well on your own debt-free journey, that you're staying motivated, you're staying consistent, no matter how big or small your monthly payments are. As long as you're making those minimum payments and paying anything extra that you can every single month, then you are on the right track. Having that debt balance go down every single month and not taking on any new debt is the road to success for debt payoff, and it's the one we are also following to our own debt freedom. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, as always, give it a big thumbs up, and if you want to see more videos from me, then hit that subscribe button. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.